If you've been struggling with how to draft an accurate princess armhole dart, then this is the right place you should be, because in this video I'll be showing you every step of the way on how to get this beautiful outcome. So let's just get started. First of all, you want to make sure you know how to draft the basic bodice block. If you're still having issues with it, I'll drop a link in the description box. You can just go and click on the link and watch the video. Remember, if you've watched the video, you see I always advise you work with your curves, because that is what will make your work look very neat. So let's just get started. You see I already drafted out my basic bodice like I mentioned earlier, and this is what I'll be turning into the princess armhole dart, because for you to get any beautiful dress out there, you need to know how to draft the basic bodice block first. Even if it's this corset you want to draft, the first thing you should know how to do is how to draft a basic bodice block. So now I'll just go ahead to label it. I have the chest line, the bust line, the underbust line, and then the waistline. And as you can see, the front is longer than the back, because when taking your client's measurements, you should always tie the half length of your client to know where the front length is and the back length. It is never the same because of the bust. I explained that in my video on how to draft a basic block, so you want to make sure you check it out. So let's just get started. I already brought out my dart like I mentioned, so what I'm just going to do here is to tighten my under bust and then tighten my over bust too. I don't know, I just want to say everything at once, so let me just go slower. So now the measurement I'm working with is bust 34. So depending on how curvy the person's bust is, that's what you'll be working with. For me, I'll be working with 1.75 inch. That's what I'm showing you here. I'm working with 1.75 inch. So if you're working with bust 36, 38 to 40, you can work with 2 inches or 2.5, depending on the bust size you're working with. You want to make sure you're adding this to this under bust tightening, because the curvier the bust, you want to make sure you're also curving it on your pattern. So now I'll be going half inch in the way it already is on the darts towards the center front, and on the other side I'll be taking 1.25. I'm taking half inch here and 1.25 inch here. So when you add it up, you'll notice it has given us our 1.75 inch. So I'm just going to roll it down. Remember, on this side, on the center front side, because you don't want to eat up your center front, you want to make sure you're always working with just half inch, and you transfer all the other measurements to the other side. Like I said, just half inch into your center front is okay. You can transfer every other measurement to the side the armhole is. So here I'm just going to line it up to that place, to the bust point. Watch what I'll be doing here. I'll be using this my curve to connect it like this. Very easy. I just connect it like this. You can see the curve is already coming out, and our underbust is we're already getting our underbust tightening. So I'll move to the other side and I'll do the same thing. Just watch how it will come out. There is no magic here. It's just knowing how to tighten your underbust, and that's it. The curve is already out. So you can see, I'll just go explain what I did again. I had my basic darts, and what I just did was to come up with the measurements I can use for my bust 34, which is 1.75 inch. You can also use 1.5 inch depending on you. So I'm just going to cancel out the basic dart so you can see the extra thing I did there. So I'm just going to cancel it out, and this is what I have left. And now let me measure it so you know what I'm talking about. Like I said, I used 1.75 for my underbust tightening, and you can see the basic dart is still there. I just took half inch on both sides, which made up the basic dart. So let me just measure everything together so you see what I'm talking about. So can you see I'm working with 1.75 inch? That's exactly what I still have there. So that's exactly what you want to do. If you're working with 2 inches, make sure after tightening it, what you have what you know you'll be cutting out is what you're working with. If it's 2 inches, then let it be 2 inches. If it's 2.5, let it be 2.5 inches. So that's what I have there, 1.75. And now I'll move over to the armhole to tighten it. So this is where the princess armhole dart comes from. So I'm just going to measure my armhole curve. I have 7.5 and I'm going to divide it by 2. Very easy. Divide it by 2 and I have 3.75. Now I'm just going to look for the midpoint and mark it out like this. That's what I have. And now I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides. Remember, I divided the armhole curve by 2 and I came up with that. And now I looked for the middle point, which is that, and I'm taking 1 inch on both sides. So watch what I'll be doing now. So I'm just going to take my curve, my French curve, and I'll be connecting that line to the bust point. I'll be connecting the point to the bust point, as you can see. So you're just going to place your curve like that, like I'm doing here, and I'm just going to connect this. Voila, that's it. Very easy. So now I'm still going to go over to the sides I took 1 inch, and I'm still going to connect it down to like that. Very easy. And that's it. Our princess armhole that is here. It's not that hard. So this is it. I already have my princess armhole that. Very easy, very simple. All you have to do is to keep on practicing till you get it all right. So that's it. That's it. Nothing else. Very easy. So if you've been having issues with this, just follow this method and give me feedback. So you notice normally when you join your princess armhole dart, if it's something you've been doing, you will notice there's always a shortage on the armhole side, and you notice when you join it, it's going to end there, and then you have shortage of your fabric, which most time leads you to shortening your armhole most time. So I was just going to add that ½ inch on this lower side. As you can see, are you seeing that? Look at where I marked that. This is where normal your princess armhole darts, whenever you join it, that's where it normally ends because of the joining. You've cut 2 separate parts out and now you're joining it. It's never going to be equal. So now just watch what I'll be explaining here. If you've been making princess darts before now, you understand what I'm talking about. So now I'm just going to connect. I just added 1 inch there. I'm just going to connect these lines, and that's it. That I have added extra. So with this extra, I'm still going to take ½ inch down on the armhole line, and I'm going to connect it. I'm creating another armhole curve here, as you can see. That's it. So with this, if you've been sewing, making princess darts before now, you understand everything I'm talking about. So I'm just going to connect it, and I have something new here extra, so that when I join it, it's going to take me to the original measurement. It's going to take me to the original side. I won't be coming up with any shortage this time around. So I'm just going to cancel out the first line. We're no longer working with it. We're now working with the second line, the one I added, and that's it. That's it. So this time around, when you join it, you will notice you're having a complete armhole. This time around, you won't have to start deepening your armhole just because of the shortage you're having. So I'm just going to cancel out all the over bust tightening and the under bust tightening. That's where you'll be cutting out at the end, and you'll be working with the other complete parts. I'm just going to cancel everywhere out. You'll be cutting this place out. That's it. That's it for the princess armhole darts. So now we're just going over to taking our body measurements. So remember, I said I'm working with bust 34. 34 divided by 4 is 8.5 inches, and I'm just going to take it there, and I'll be adding 2 inches for my seam allowance. I wanted to make it 1.5, so 1.75, but I think I later made it 2 inches. It is essential you have extra fabric, if you're working with extra fabric than working with less, it gives you more chances of exploring and less chances of mistakes. So underbust normally is 6.5 after dividing it by 4, which is 27. I'm working with 27, so that is 6.5. So now what you're going to do is, after taking your measurement, you measure your dart, the every part to cancel that, and you're going to bring it out here before adding your sewing allowance. I don't know if you get that part. I'm going to repeat it down here just that I want to show you. My measurement is 6.5. I took the measurement of this every part I cancelled out in this middle, the dart area. I came up with 1.75 inches. I brought it out first before adding my dart allowance, because if you just go ahead to take your measurements and then take your seam allowance measurements, you end up with shortages. So now I just connected everything together, and that's it. Our princess armhole dart is getting ready. So remember what I said I did? I took my measurements, I added the busts, the tightening, the places I already marked out, because you won't just leave it like that. If you just leave it like that and join it, you notice you are coming up, you'll be having shortages. So make sure you always take out the measurements, the places you've already cancelled out, put it back on your paper or on your fabric if you're working directly on your fabric. So now let's move over to the back pattern, and then we'll be done. So I'm just going to divide the armhole by 2 again, like I did in the front pattern, and press out the mid point, and that's what I'll be working with. So remember, take the measurement of your armhole, divide it by 2, mark it out, place a dot there. I'm just going to cross check it, and that's what I did. That's the midpoint of it, and I'll be connecting it to the bust point like I did at the front, like that. So that's just it. I've just connected it. I went ahead to adjust it because I was working with what I did here was I took ½ inch lower under the bust, like I mentioned in the basic bodies tutorial. So I just went ahead to correct some things. So I'll be repeating exactly the same thing I did at the front. I'll be adding ½ inch because after joining it, we don't want to be left with, we don't want to have shortages. So I'm just going to repeat the exact thing I did at the front. I'm going to add ½ inch there and ½ inch on the armhole, and I'm going to create another armhole that I'll be working with now. That's it. That's it. So when you join your fabric, you'll notice you'll be having just exactly what you're supposed to have. In this back pattern, you don't need the over bust tightening because there is no bust at the back. The back is just flat. It's just our backbone that looks like it's coming out. That's the need for the darts. And this dart is enough, no more tightening. So I'm just going to take the measurement. The bust measurement is 8.5, and I added 2 inches allowance. Under bust is 6.5, that is 27 divided by 5. I just took 7 this time around because I won't be adding any other allowances. So what I did was just take 7, and then I added 2 inches allowance for the back. You can still go ahead to take the back pattern, the dart pattern, and add it up again, but I didn't do that here because most times you end up having excess at the back because the front, you've taken enough of the front measurement. So I'm just going to work with it like that because I actually wanted to make it just 1.5 inch side allowance though, but let me just do it in a way you understand. So I just went ahead to connect these lines together because actually, like I said, I wanted to work with 1.5 inch side allowance, so I just made it 2 because that's what most people know, that's what most people use. But if you've taken your accurate measurements and you know everything is okay, then 1 inch should be okay for you. So that's why I didn't go ahead to start taking the measurement for the dart and then adding it back up again, but I just decided to do it here. just so you understand what I'm doing. And that's it. If you're actually working with exactly the front part, and that's how it should look like. But remember, this time around there's no underbust tightening or any of that. That's why we have the curve. I just wanted to make you understand something. That's why we have the curve like it should be when you're just taking a normal measurement. But because this time around I tightened the underbust and then added the measurement back. That's why you can see we have a straight line for the front part, and then we have this curve at the back. That's how it's supposed to be. So let's move over to the tightening of the zipper allowance of the back. So I'm just going to go in ½ inch from the 1.5 inch we already have. I'm going to connect it to the neckline like that slantly. Remember, I just took ½ inch and I'm just going to connect it like that, and that's what we have. That's what we'll be using for our back tightening. With this, you'll notice you don't have a zipper bulging at the back. So I'm just going to cancel it out because all these parts are areas I will cut out at the end. So this is it. This is all for the princess armhole dart. I hope you understand this. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you'll be the very first person to get notified whenever I upload a new video. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to share and don't forget to comment. Love you. See you on my next video. Bye.